It's the boys from Minnesota back at it again. Hot takes from Nels, Tyler, Josh, and Ben. From the first batter up to the safe clinch, you bitch. Get up out your seats, it's swing and a miss.
Welcome to a very special episode of Swing and a Miss, a baseball podcast. We are joined today by the voice of the Saints, Sean Aronson. Sean, thank you for the time today.
You reminded me of introducing the show Blossom. You guys ever watch Blossom back in the day?
Yeah.
Every episode was a very special episode of Blossom. So when you said that, that was the first thing that came to my mind.
That's because she had a new hat.
Right?
That was Joey Lawrence, right?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Maya Bialik, yes.
I used to love that show.
Yes.
That shows my age a little bit more than some of the other guys on the show.
We're not talking about the pitfalls of cigarettes today.
No,
I'm sorry.
But Sean, thank you so much for the time today. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad that you guys came out for. I guess I don't know. Have you guys been to a Saints game? You guys are.
Oh yeah,
swag here.
Man, I used to live literally right next door at Lower Town Commons.
Okay.
I was up at that corner apartment, so
Yeah.
I used to sneak watching games from
There
the
you go.
apartment window. So I've been to a few, but I've watched quite a few for free from my window.
Yeah, well, that was always our fear because we built the dog park over here. That people would pretend to have dogs and just kind of walk in there and just watch the game from there.
One of those
Yeah.
like invisible leash
Yeah, exactly.
gags.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I still came to plenty of games. I spent my money here at the store and
There you
stuff.
go.
But you know,
So-
cooking dinner and getting a little baseball was nice.
Ben, Josh, and Nels are all transplants. I'm native to Minnesota.
Okay.
So I loved going to Midway Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd say the number one thing that I miss is train.
Sure.
Train.
Yeah. We get that a lot. People come in and say, you know, what they miss from that time. I miss nothing from Midway.
Okay.
Not one thing. And I get it from a fan perspective because, I mean, that's where we started back in 93 and people always talk about, you know, the nostalgia and all that sort of stuff. For me, when I got there and when you work there, the amenities you have were nothing. You didn't have any. I mean, it was our second office was a trailer
Yeah.
in the parking lot, which again,
Oh, wow.
some people will be like, "Oh, that's so cute." That's, you know, no, it's terrible. And there's nothing good about that.
So yeah, CHS Field opened in 2015.
15. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now the Saints were an independent team between 93 to 2021.
Yeah, 21, we became the AAA affiliate of the Twins.
So what's the biggest difference between going from, you know, the Cavalier, like light and fun independent ball team to now being a high-end affiliate of a pro ball club?
For me, nothing.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I tell people baseball is baseball. So as a broadcaster, nothing changes. And this is no disrespect to independent baseball. The talent is better, right? I mean,
Of
there's
course,
no
sure.
two ways about it. The talent is better. So night to night, you're going to see better games. Now, if you showed up to opening night this year where we walked 20 guys in a game, and it was arguably one of the worst games I've ever, you know, had to broadcast, you would have thought that it was at times independent baseball. But overall, for me, nothing. I would tell you it's more on the promotional side of things. We have to run everything by Major League Baseball.
Oh.
I mean, everything.
Wow.
So if you want to do a promotion, you not only have to run the promotion by them, you have to run what you're going to put in the pocket schedule, the little blurbs that you write in there. You have to run that by them too.
Wow.
And again, that's not something that I deal with. So I have to imagine that it's just absolute pain for Sierra Wolf, who is our amazing promotions director, among many other things that she is. She's also our assistant GM. But it's just got to be a pain that, you know, you have this big conglomerate that micromanages everything. And I get it from their perspective. They're afraid of being sued, right? That's
Right.
Major League Baseball. Like if you do something that pokes fun at, you know, some sort of group and they're like, well, you know what's going to happen? We're going to wind up getting sued because you guys are doing that. I get it. But from someone that came from the independent ranks, you know, all of us did, it's a little bit disheartening that we can't just shoot from the hip
Yeah.
and be like, we'll apologize for that later. Who cares?
Yeah.
Has there ever been a promotion from your side that Major League Baseball killed?
I don't know if necessarily killed it. We just try to find a creative way around it, if you will.
Sure.
Now that we've been a AAA affiliate for 6 years, I don't want to say we've gotten things past the censors, but that's what you try to do, right? You're trying to get things past the censor because you think it's funny, and you try to do something. And look, they're trying to, I don't know, wrap their arms around 120 teams. And we've gotten to the point in minor league baseball now where everybody saw what the Saints did in 93, right? The Saints led the charge for minor league baseball across the board. And they took chances before everybody else, did. And now everybody understands, well, that's the game. Like, you have to do that. So it's not like the Saints are the only ones that are trying to be out there and creative and wacky and all that sort of stuff. Everyone does to their own extent. I'd probably tell you there are 10 teams, give or take, in of the 120 teams that really go after it, right? Everybody else is to play it safe, or they do, something cute, whatever, but nothing over the edge. Mm-hmm. There's probably about 10 teams. And those are the 10 teams that Major League Baseball has to worry about.
Yeah.
But you don't want to lose your identity just because, the grand poobah, if you will, that is Major League Baseball tells you no, that you can't do it. Because the last thing you want to do is leave a good idea on the table that you could pull off, and that someone may be overreacting. Again, that's just the way I look at it. Major League Baseball will tell you something totally different. Right. They're not in this room right now, and it's just me. So.
They keep ignoring my emails.
Yeah, that's right.
Why.
Yeah.
That's because they're vetting all of the promotions that the Saints
probably.
are doing.
Right, exactly.
Would you say that, so you had a broadcasting career prior to coming to the Saints? Mm-hmm. With the Saints being, a fun first baseball team, and, at times I would not say anything like, there's nothing offensive that I've ever seen at a Saints game, but there has been like a slight bit of tongue in cheek and irreverence. Did you feel like there is now more pressure to rein in, or do you feel there was initially more pressure to bring more fun to your commentary?
Well, let me just say this, and I'm not saying anything out of turn because I've been here 20 years. The gay community, the non-gay community, the religious community, the political community, all will feel different about the fact that you said that we've not done anything that has offended them. Because we've taken shots at everybody.
Okay.
So I appreciate the fact that you don't see that way. A bunch of other groups feel very differently about that, which is great. We've pissed everybody off. So that's how you know that you've done a good job, right? If you can piss everyone off, you've done a good job.
There you go.
I don't know. I don't feel like I've had to, or this organization has had to rein anything in. Again, I feel like we have an identity. We have to stick to the identity of who we are. And if we don't do that, we're doing ourselves and our fans a disservice, right? And that's not fair to anyone. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we haven't sat in the room and had a conversation and said, well, what's Major League Baseball going to say about this, right? And that has happened. And I'm not calling anyone in our office out, but I am the biggest advocate of telling people not to think that way, because I hate that, right? Like, our first thought shouldn't be, hey, here's a great idea. Well, how's Major League? No, don't do that. Let's go forward. Make them say no.
Yeah.
Or let's find a way around it, right? Because I just don't want us to get in the habit of not coming up with funny ideas because we're afraid it's going to get shot down. That's just the way I look at it.
How about letting us broadcast in center field in the middle of the game? How's that for a fun?
On the field?
Yeah, right in the seventh inning.
I don't care about it. Center fielder may have a problem with that for both sides.
Hey, no, it's okay. We'll help them out.
That's right. Well, at the old ballpark, when we sold over capacity, we put chairs on the warning track and then put up snow fence in front of that. So it would cut down the field of play by whatever that is, 8 feet or so, 10 feet. And we got that idea from like way back in the day. I mean, like the 1920s, 1930s, that was not uncommon. Of course, back then, some of those ballparks were like 490 feet. It was like impossible to reach that. Yeah. So we got that idea from them. And they were doing that before I got here. And again, I've been around for 20 years. And I remember having to set up the chairs the first time. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this is... But some of the greatest moments in franchise history are because we set up those chairs in the snow fence. A game literally ended when our right fielder, Brent Krause, made a catch, tumbled over the snow fence, and landed in a chair out there. It was incredible. I mean, the video is unbelievable. And that's the way the game ended. It was like a one-run game. Like, he doesn't catch that. Like, we're down now. So those are things we don't do here, obviously, because now we have a 360-degree concourse. We can, theoretically, we could probably have 12, 13,000 fans in this ballpark. But you know, again, people loved Midway because it was kitschy and it was their ballpark, right? It wasn't what a lot of people viewed as, well, you guys have gone corporate. My favorite story is when we got this ballpark, everybody was talking about the fact that we had sold out, that, you know, we were going to be different now, blah, 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 all this sort of stuff, right? The very first game when we opened this ballpark in 2015, we did a parade here and we welcomed all the construction workers and all the politicians and everybody that helped make this, you know, ballpark possible. And then interspersed in that, we had jugglers, we had flamethrowers, we had burlesque dancers, we had sword swallowers. So here are all these serious people and in between them are all these ridiculous things that you would see at like a circus. Right. And I was like, we've just let everybody know that thinks that we have gone corporate and just, you know, told them you're absolutely incorrect. Not at all. So, and I love that about us. I really did, because we didn't change who we were.
I love that. If I could take it back a handful of years prior to your time here with the Saints, I'm curious. So in doing some research about your background, I see that you grew up in Northridge, California.
I did,
right?
Yes.
And you went to college at University of Colorado.
I did.
I'm curious, what led you from an LA kid to Colorado?
I think there were a couple things. Number one, and I love LA. My family, friends, everybody's still back in LA. I'm a diehard Dodger fan, Laker fan, Kings fan. So my fandom hasn't changed, and I've lived in 5 different states. So Twins fans don't get angry at me. I root for all the players, but I think every Twins fan would understand, like, you don't change your allegiance, and I won't. I refuse to.
Yeah.
So if that keeps me from ever getting a job with the Minnesota Twins, sorry about it. They've already allowed me to broadcast 6 games for them in the major leagues, but I bleed blue. So, but the first thing was I wanted to get out of LA. Like, I love it. It was great, but I felt like to grow as a person, I had to get out of my backyard. And all my friends went to UC Santa Barbara, UCLA, UC Irvine. I mean, they all went there. I think I was the only one that like flew the coop and got out. But I wound up at Colorado, so I applied to University of Washington, University of Arizona, University of Georgia, and there might have been another school in there, whatever. But like, I'm 48 years old, guys. I don't know if anyone's close to my age here.
We're getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but
That
side over there, my right side. When I graduated from high school in 95, you could not Google the best broadcasting schools out there.
Yeah.
Folks, Google did not exist in 95. So you go in and like your college advisor would be like, hey, there's a stack of books over there. Go ahead and thumb through it and find out what college. And no kid wants to do that. No one's going to think, you don't want to go through books. So I applied to these schools. None of them were journalism schools, right? Arizona State is the journalism school. It's got the Cronkite School of Broadcasting. I didn't know about Syracuse. I'm a West Coast guy. I have no idea about Syracuse, right? It's the factory that produces everybody. But I didn't know about that in 95. So my best friend's sister, I think she started at UCLA and then went to Colorado. And she said, it's beautiful. You'll love it. You should go there. Now, she wasn't a journalism major or anything, but she's like, the college is amazing. And I visited it, and it was beautiful. Like, Boulder is one of the most beautiful places in the United States. And then Oregon was the other place, because I visited Oregon right after that, and I was dead set on going to Boulder. And I visited Oregon, and I was like, wow, this place actually just sold me on going there, because it was the antithesis of Los Angeles, which is what I was looking for. And it just came down to, I hate change. I didn't know anyone at Oregon. At least I knew someone in Boulder, and I chose that. And after my first year, I was so homesick, I wanted to go back to LA. But I just convinced myself that in order for me to grow as a person, I had to stick it out. And I loved the final 3 years of my time at Boulder. A smart student, I was nearly a 4.0 student in high school. And my first year of college, I was like a 2-3 student because I was so homesick. And had to dig myself out of the hole after year number 1. And I did, but I'm glad I stayed there. I will also say this. Fun fact about me, among many fun facts. I believe I'm the only, when you go to Boulder and they sit all the freshmen down, like big, basketball arena, and they tell everyone, at least back then, I don't know if they still do it now, we can charge what we charge because everybody comes here for the skiing. And at the time, it was $25,000 a year. It is much, much more now.
Yeah.
But it was $25,000 a year. And they said, we can charge this much because everyone comes here for the skiing. I am convinced I'm the only idiot in this world that went to the University of Colorado Boulder, spent 4 years there and an additional 5th year doing my internship, and never went skiing one time.
Wow.
Not one. So I spent all that money that they charged because people go there for the skiing and did not ski once, not one time.
Did you at least rock climb or mountain bike or hike?
Outside of hiking,
Yeah.
that was it. But you're a kid. I don't want to say traumatic, but I had a terrible experience skiing at the Big Bear Mountain in California, where my parents put me in a ski school. I don't know, I was 5, 6 years old. And they don't give you any poles. And I kept falling over and I kept like 15, 20 times. And they helped me up every time. And finally they just got tired of it. And they're like, you have to get yourself up. And I was so frustrated that I was like, I'm done. And so I left the ski school at like noon and we were supposed to be there like 4 o'clock. And I've never been on skis since.
Really?
That was a horrible experience for me. And because of that, I've never been. I never actually skied. It was basically like, here, stand up and skis.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. And they don't give me any poles. And that was it. So
Put skis on your feet once.
that was it. That was literally exactly how it happened.
Put skis on my feet, tipped over 15 times, called it a
100%.
day.
That is
And you're
how
telling
that
me
went.
that they didn't have like a financial aid package for like, I don't ski.
Yeah, right?
So give me a little
How do I
extra
take this out
financial
of
aid.
No, it's because like most colleges, you also get charged for the sports side of things. But if you don't go to the games, you're still paying for all of it. So at least I went to those, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I assume as an LA kid, Vin Scully was the voice of
Yes.
your childhood. Has there been another voice in your formative years that really led you to a career in broadcast journalism?
Look, I was fortunate, and I'm sure New York will say differently, Chicago, maybe St. Louis. I don't know. There's some areas out there that will say differently. But I arguably grew up with the greatest broadcasters known to man. Vin Scully for the Dodgers, Chick Hearn for the Lakers, and Bob Miller for the LA Kings. All 3 Hall of Famers, okay? All 3 of them. I was very fortunate. Dick Enberg did the Angels back then too, but I didn't grow up listening to the Angels. But we had some amazing broadcasts. So I grew up as one did back then. No one does this anymore. Going to sleep, depending on the time of the year, listening to those games, right? Like that's what I listened to. And so those 3 guys, but specifically Scully, because I'm wanted to do baseball forever, were the voices of my childhood. And so those were the guys. Now that's not to say I don't enjoy other broadcasters, but my formative years, those guys set me on this path for what I'm doing.
And when you got to call games for the Twins a couple years ago, it was at the White Sox and then at the Giants. I don't know if Vin ever did a game at the White Sox stadium, but he obviously did many at the Giants.
His last game ever was in San Francisco.
How was that, knowing you're in that same booth that he was in?
So it was amazing because if you go down in the visitors clubhouse, they have photos of Vin in there. And I tried as little as possible to be like, oh my God, I'm in the big leagues. Let me take a picture of everything and I'm going to post everything. But when I saw it in the clubhouse, I made sure to take a photo of the picture of Vin down there. And it just, I don't know, it was, you realize all the people that have sat in the booths that you've sat in, right? And the people that came before you. And so it was, one of the guys that I wanted to talk to while I was there was John Miller. John Miller, longtime voice of the Giants. And so Dan Gladden was my broadcast partner. And Gladden played for the Giants. So, I mean, he's big in San Francisco. And I told him and my producer, I was like, the one guy I really want to meet is John Miller. So Gladden brings him over. And God love John Miller. He's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt. And I'm like, he's the only guy that can get away with this because but he spent, and I don't even know if Gladden said I wanted to meet him. I just he spent 45 minutes in the booth with us and just telling stories about Mays and McCovey and just all these guys. And I just sat there and I listened. I was like, this is incredible to be as close to Vin Scully as I'm ever going to get in terms of a guy that could talk about the history, a guy that, knew Vin, and just listen. As you can tell, it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut. But in that instance, I did because I just wanted to take it all in and listen to this guy that had been around and had seen so much. He's a chill guy, first of all. I mean, he's everything that you see and hear on the air, but just a super nice guy. And I'll say the same thing for the guys in Chicago with the White Sox. When they found out it was my first game, they all came into the booth to congratulate me. I don't know if they knew this or if this just happened to be coincidence, but it's how it was presented to me. They had cake and brought cake in for me, for my first game. And I thought they were stand-up people in Chicago to do that. They didn't have to do that. It was tremendous. So it's 6 days that, hopefully I get back. But if I never get back, they were 6 of the greatest days of my life.
Yeah. I'm a big Giants fan.
Sure.
So I'm very aware of John Miller, but he's always one of those, he's my answer to if you could have lunch with anybody, sure, that's my guy for that reason.
Yeah.
Just sit there. I don't even have to say anything. Just let him go off my baseball.
He also hasn't answered my email. So,
well,
I think he's a busy guy too.
He's a busy guy. So just in the vein of that, when you did the games for the Twins, in your opinion, what's the biggest difference between calling professional or Major League Baseball and minor league baseball? I know they're both professional.
The amount of data you have in front of you is 10-fold, maybe 100-fold.
Okay.
And you have to tell yourself nothing is different. Look, I knew about a month before, Andrew Halverson, who basically runs their whole broadcast department over there, called me up and asked me if I wanted to do games. I said, I'll get back to you. That's not how that went. So you're nervous for 30 days as you're getting ready for that, right? Because this is the big moment. The lights are brighter, the ballparks are bigger. At least in one of those ballparks, the crowds were louder. I'll let you guess which one of the two ballparks the crowds were louder. And so like you're nervous for 30 days. And I'll say this, they do their pregame show, and I had, I think, 1 or 2 hits during the pregame show. That was a little out of my element because you're not sure their format and how they do all that sort. So I was very nervous for that, and I definitely was nervous when I was on. The second Danny turned it over to me, and he says something along the lines that it's been a while since I've been this close to someone making their major league debut. And he said, "Can I say that?" And I was like, "You can say whatever you want." And he said, "Here, Sean." I was not nervous anymore.
Really?
Because I had done so many games, and you have to realize there's not one thing different. Now, as we all do, I went back and listened to it, and I am talking 1,000 miles a minute in the first inning because you're so amped, right?
Yeah.
You're so amped, and then you start to kind of taper off a little bit, and the adrenaline wears off, but the biggest thing is the amount of data that you have, because they have everything, right? And you have to realize that you don't need all that. The game, because I'm on radio, the game does the talking first, which is what I tell every young broadcaster that wants to get into this business. The game is first and foremost, and you just have to reinforce that in yourself. Now, I had notes upon notes upon notes in front of me, and again, I came from the Vin Scully School of Broadcasting, and I'm a big believer in storytelling. I am not comparing myself to Vin at all. I don't want to make that clear, but that is my style, right? I love the stories behind these guys. So I just wanted to make sure that and this is probably where I pushed it a little bit too much, I wanted people to know I did my research, right? Like you want to prove you belong there. And so you want to get some of those stories that you spent the last 30 days researching. And so you want to get, so there were times that I probably, jam things in there that I wouldn't otherwise have done. There are 2 things though that like will eat at me, one more so than another. You're going to make mistakes over the course of one game, let alone a week, let alone, 162 in the major leagues. But the first one was you have your roster up on the wall next to you, and the coaching staffs in the major leagues are 15 guys deep, right? Like we've got, 4 guys here in the minor leagues, but and the way they do it's in paragraph style, right? So it's like pitching coach name, hitting coach name, and like it all jams together. So you're not sure is like the pitching coach and then the name, or is it the name and then you don't know. So I highlighted on the roster so that I wouldn't get confused. And of course, one of the first pitching changes, and I botched the Twins pitching coach. I say it's Pete Mackey, and then I'm like, no, it's because I second guess myself because I'm looking at it, even though I highlighted it, and I'm like, any basic Twins fan knows who's the pitching coach. This is moronic of me, but whatever, it was fine. But the one that will always gnaw at me, and I joke about this today on Saints broadcast. Michael Kopech threw an immaculate inning for the White Sox, and I missed it. Didn't realize it happened. 9 pitches, 9 strikes, blows the doors off the Twins in the 9th inning in game 1 of the doubleheader on Wednesday. And I completely whiffed. Now, one of my broadcast assistants was listening because they went and covered for me in Louisville. And they had known I had never called an immaculate inning in my life. And he said, "You finally got your immaculate inning." Can I curse on here?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And I said, "Fuck me. I cannot believe I did." So we're in break. And I'm like, I can't believe that. So I'm trying to save a little face at this point. So we come back from break and I'm like, I say something along the lines. So as everyone knows, that was an immaculate. Well, I'm just a schmuck at this point. Right. And so like to this day, when a pitcher strikes out the side, I say he strikes out the side on more than 9 pitches. And it's a little ode to myself that I blew this, and to always like, you know, realize that like I still have never called one, even though it happened. I've never called one, but I say that as joking to myself because you got to be self-deprecating, you know, I think in this world, but in this business, and it's my way of poking fun at myself that I blew this major league call that was the first one in White Sox history.
Yeah.
And as Halverson told me, he said, "Look, it's not a big deal, I promise you. If it was for the Twins, we'd be talking about a different story, right. But it was against us, so it's not that big of a deal." And I was like, well, maybe to you, but I mean, to me, I cannot believe I blew this. So,
Yeah. Do you have a
by the way, this goes on for 3 hours, right? That's how long you guys are doing. That's the runway I've got here.
Right through the game today.
Absolutely.
You've got as much time as you need. We're just here.
Do you have a preference between radio and television? Obviously, radio, you have to be much more descriptive. You're the eyes and ears for the audience. Do you prefer one over the other?
Radio because of that. Like
Okay.
I think there's an art, and again, you get paid more doing TV. There's no two ways about it. The TV guy gets paid more. But here's the reason I like radio for 2 reasons. Number one, I think there's a bigger art form to that. But number 2, think about who's calling games during the playoffs. It ain't the TV guy, right? Mm-hmm. National takes over for everything nowadays.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how, and I'm sure in some instances they bring the TV guy over to do radio because they've been around for a long time or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But like, think about spending in the major leagues 162 games with a team. You've called this amazing moment that got your team into the playoffs, and then they're like, all right, see ya. That's it.
Yeah.
Like it's terrible. Like I remember when the Kings won the Stanley Cup in 12 and 14, Bob Miller, who's this longtime voice of the Kings, didn't get to do playoff games, right? Because again, they're national. Now he did the clincher to nobody, just so, you know, that they could have it on I say tape, but just so that they could have it, right? And I'm like, how sad is that? Like, that's the voice. And I've said this to a number of different broadcasters, because much like you guys, at one point in time, I used to have a podcast, and it was sitting down with play-by-play broadcasters from all the sports, and we would talk about this. And I said, I think the sports are doing a disservice to the broadcasters, because as you've seen by ESPN, that's got, you know, during the big games, they have the alternate cast and everything else going on, right? And they've got the broadcast of each of the teams and stuff like that. There's nothing that says that you can't have the broadcast of your hometown broadcaster in each of those markets. Because the big thing that they're worried about, right, is the dollars from the advertising. Well, if you could just agree that they could run the advertising in that market that's being run on the national channels, why couldn't you do it? It seems to me like such a simple fix. I don't know if it's never been brought up before, but I brought that up to all the broadcasters I've talked to. Like, that's the way it should be. If it's, you know, whatever, if it's the Wild that get to the Stanley Cup Finals this year and, you know, they're taking on whatever, I don't know, Carolina, then those broadcasters should be able to call in their home markets and just run whatever ABC, ESPN is running on their channels in terms of the advertising. Because advertisers care about the numbers. Well, there you go. You've solved that problem.
You're not going to beat the RSN in the local market.
No, but that's the thing. Everyone wants to listen to their own guy.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Now, it's not going to prevent them probably from tuning in just because it's, national, it's the Stanley Cup Finals or NBA Finals, whatever it is. People are still going to tune in, but they want to listen to their own guy. So let the TV guy do it and run the ads. To me, it sounds so simple. And maybe someone out there who's a lot smarter than me will say, well, here's why you can do it. But I've not heard anyone tell me why you cannot do that right there.
Right.
Yeah.
We have secondary audio for a Spanish feed. It doesn't seem like it in today's technology, like having third and fourth and fifth audio channels for the same broadcast.
I just thought we did this over again and we just all do it in Spanish.
That's actually what I thought you were saying. That's what I thought you were saying.
I'm cool with that.
You just flip this switch and it immediately just translates for you.
We're very fluent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those things for me though. Like you're saying, so I'm from Detroit, so I'm a big Tigers fan.
Yeah.
When it comes to the playoffs, the last couple of years, we've been lucky, having Jason Benetti come over, and so he gets to do some of the national games. But now all these games on Apple TV and Peacock and all that, and you get the national announcers. I'll watch the game on mute and I'll bring up the radio feed so that I can listen to Dan Dickerson call the game, because I want to hear not just Dan's voice, because Dan's voice just screams, this is the Tigers, but there's just a different level of emotion to the calls. The national announcers are great, nothing against them or anything, but it just doesn't convey that same emotion for somebody who's watching for that team. For everybody else that's watching that doesn't, care about the teams and they're just watching because it's on, that's one thing. But for the people that are connected to because we get connected to our broadcasters,
sure.
we feel like they're talking to us.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example, right? Dodgers have won the World Series the last 2 years. And who calls the World Series? It's Joe Davis, who is the voice of the Dodgers, right? So it's perfect for me. But the problem in that is he's not broadcasting the game for Dodger fans. Right. He's broadcasting the game for the national audience. And so I don't want to say he has to pull back, but he has to alter at least a little bit to make it sound like he's not a Dodger broadcaster. And I think he does a great job. Now, some people out there may not agree because they think in their mind, well, he's the Dodger guy, so right? I think Joe's amazing. But even in that situation where I'm getting my guy, it's still different, right? And again, Joe wants to do national stuff. I've actually sat down and interviewed him. He's amazing. He's great. This was always the path that he was on. So I just think he wants to be that guy in general. But again, I think there's nothing better, and I think almost all fans across the board would agree, have your guy call every round of the playoffs and the championship. Everyone would be happy. Like I said, I feel like there is an easy fix to this. And until someone tells me no and a reason why, I believe that there is an easy fix to this.
I'm with you.
Do you mind if we talk a little bit about your podcast?
Sure. It is now non-existent, but yes, we can still talk about it.
Your former podcast, yes. I guess we should say. So it's called The Voice Behind the Voice, right? And in preparation for today, I went back and listened to a lot of episodes that you did. I actually emailed you about a couple that I listened to. You've had some incredible names on the show. Kenny Albert, Doc Emmerich, Darryl Strawberry, Goose Gossage, really big names that have been really influential in broadcasting and in the sports world. Yeah. Obviously, I'm very partial to Big Daddy Paul Keels, being from Columbus. Sure. But what I'd love to know is, in the time that you did the show, was there an interview that you wanted to get that you didn't and that you still wish you could get?
Yeah, it was Vin. I mean, and again, Vin was when I did this, I did it for 4 years. So it would have been 17 to 20 or 16 to 20, something like that, that the pandemic basically ended it. My big thing was, so for people that care, it was me sitting down with the play-by-play broadcasters from the 4 major sports and college, right? And that was my criteria. Again, it was nothing against any other league out there, but that was my criteria. And they had to be play-by-play guys, no color analysts, whatever. It was all play-by-play guys. And it was pulling the curtain back on who these people were, because you know them as the voice of the team, but what do you know about them, the person? And that was what I wanted to pull back on. And I made sure I did my research as if I was doing a game, right? I did much like you guys did for me, which I'm sorry that you went down any rabbit hole that you did for us. But I made sure I did Some guys as easy as an hour. Other guys that if it was like Joe Buck or it was Sean McDonough or it was any of the other guys you named, it was hours because there was so much stuff on those guys. And I think everyone appreciated that because they weren't used to that, right? They weren't used to someone doing research and coming to the table with all this stuff. But it was Vin, and I had reached out. Once I got established, and then you start meeting people, and you know, we would talk afterwards, and I would always say, you know, and I'm sure for some people out there, they could go right to Vin and be able to get him. I finally got someone, and I don't know if it was his agency or whoever it was, but after a couple of years, I finally got the information that I needed, and I reached out on a couple of occasions, and the guy was very nice, and he said, like, Vin is not doing interviews right now. And I would assume that if Vin did every interview that was ever reached out to him, sure, he would never do a Dodger game, right? It would always be that. And so I'm sure there were only certain times that he would do a quote unquote interview circuit, which I'm sure was very small. Again, in LA, I'm sure any one of those guys that have been out there could have just reached out to him and just said, hey, can we get you on? We want it, whatever. I just didn't have that. And so I never got him. And I never met him either, which is always disappointing to me because, again, that was my hero. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, I don't know if there's anybody else. I won't name names because it's not fair. Because if guys didn't want to do it, they didn't want to do it. That's sure, fine. There were a couple of guys I reached out to a few times that said no. Not national guys or anything like that. There was I don't know. There were a couple of national guys that I would love to have gotten that I conversed with. You know, one that we actually had it on the books, and then I think they wound up changing their meeting time or whatever when they were in town, and so it was supposed to be at the same time, and so I never got them. But yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, if I had kept the podcast going, yeah, I mean, there are a ton of guys that I wish I would have gotten, but I don't know what it turned out to be, 160, 70, 200, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And again, I had a hard, fast rule as it was only going to be play-by-play guys. You mentioned a couple of guys, Goose Gossage, Darryl Strawberry. Those happened because Goose was on the broadcast with me here. We hosted the All-Star game. Darryl Strawberry had played for the St. Paul Saints, and so I just played that interview. You know, so I had some sort of offshoots, ones like that. So yeah, I mean, again, it was fun to do because much like we are here, and that was my other one, had to be in person. Mm-hmm. I would not do it over Zoom. I would not do it over the phone. None of that. It had to be in person because I felt like that made for a better podcast. It was much better to do it that way. And so I got all these people as they came through here. Like
I was going to say, I think I listened to one you did in a hotel lobby.
Oh, I did plenty in hotel lobbies. Oh my goodness. I can't tell you the amount of, like the St. Paul Hotel here, that's where the NHL guys stay. And so like I'd set up shop there and just like my favorite was, did I do both Red Wings guys? Maybe one, but I did it like 1:30 in the morning because he was basically flying in with the team and then flying out the next day. He wasn't doing the game, but flew in with the team. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. We land at this time. If you want to meet me at 1:30 in the morning, I was like, yep, done, whatever. And I did it. I didn't care. And it came after the pandemic. People have always asked me, because again, I didn't have a million followers or anything like that, but you get enough people that listen. And I get people that will occasionally ask me from time to time, are you going to go back and do it? My response is, I'm just at a different point in my life now where I don't have the time that I'd want to put into that. Now, I was my own producer, director, like everything. Like I'd reach out to all the PR people of all these teams to line these interviews up. Like I would send the emails out, and please don't do this to me. I'm not asking you guys to do this, but this is what I did. After every interview was over, I wrote a handwritten thank you note to the person that helped me set up the interview and the broadcaster themselves, just how I was raised, whatever. And so I did that. And so you're doing all these things, plus the research tools that, that you're going down after the pandemic. And then we became a AAA affiliate, and now I'm married. And so like, I just don't have the time that I once did to put into that. Mm-hmm. When I was a loser and had nobody, it was great. I've been all this time.
There's looking at the guest list, and now that you said it was mostly play-by-play. There's one guest that really jumped out. Yardley Smith.
Yeah, Yardley Smith.
The voice of Lisa Simpson.
Yeah.
How
So
did
I
you
love
manage
her.
that?
So she's one of my favorite people, by the way. So in 2018, her now husband was coaching with us. They wanted to do basically they wanted to do a show about the St. Paul Saints, like a Hard Knocks type of thing. And so Yardley's production company came out here and this was before we were affiliated, so we were independent, came out with a camera crew. They spent like 2-3 weeks with us, and then her husband came and coached with us because he had played for George Samus, our manager at the time. And he wound up coaching for the team. And so the funny thing about this, after about a month of them following us around, like I knew it was Yardley's production company. I'm a huge Simpsons fan. I think I've seen every episode. And at the very end, Dan is his name. Dan drops the nugget and he's like, "Oh yeah, my fiance is going to be here tomorrow." I'm like, "Oh, I'm so excited. I'd love to meet her." Turns out his fiance is Yardley Smith. And I'm like, how did you bury the lead in this? We've been together for the last month, and like, I know this is Yardley's, and you're like, "Yeah, my fiance," and you never mention this, and I get it. Like from his point of view, it's just Yardley, right? But like, this is crazy. So her and I got to chatting. She's the sweetest person in the world. And we're talking, whatever, and she invited me to a table read for The Simpsons.
Wow.
Which is incredible. So I got to go to a table read, again, fortunate to be from Los Angeles, and went to the lot. And I will say this, there's like 50 people probably there. That, I don't know if the crew or whoever gets to invite people, because what they want is not just me and like them around. It's literally a table like we're around right now, like just a gigantic, square table, that a rectangle table, and they're all there, right? And so, but they want people there to see how the jokes play. So it's not just me and like, "Hey, I wonder how Sean thinks that this is going to play today." There are literally like 50 people on the outside of the room. And I will say this, 30-minute episode took them 38 minutes, 40 minutes, like, and they brought their fastball, man. Like, they don't get, I mean, at the time it was, I don't know, 29 years, 28 years, whatever it was at that point.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, at this point, I'd just be reading words and be like, "All right, I'll when I get inside the booth, I'll give it to you." But like, they're hitting everything. And so Matt Groening's there, and like, he's the guy in the middle, right? And he doesn't say a word. He's just jotting notes down because he's listening. How's this playing? Where's the inflection? Stuff like that. And it's incredible. And then after, Yardley's like, "Hey, do you want me to get," and so they give you a script. So Yardley's like, "You want me to get the script signed?" And I was like, "Well, I wasn't going to ask you, but I'm not going to say no either." And so she got it signed for me by everybody. And I actually hanging in my house to actually not anymore because we're looking to sell the house. So we just took it down, but it'd been hanging in the hallway of my house. Long story longer. So I asked her if she wouldn't mind coming on the podcast that I wanted to, and of course she said yes. And so her and Joe Davis are the only people that I've ever pulled this trick with. And I didn't do it with Yardley on the podcast, but I did it with her. She was up in the booth with me. So this was before the podcast, but I've pulled this trick twice. And I think this is what endeared me to Yardley. The other one I did this to is Joe Davis, where I said, "Look, let's just get this out of the way. Everybody wants to talk about, the shows that you're on and whatever. So let's just get the question out of the way. What was it like being on Herman's Head?" And she's like, "What?" She's like, how do you know? I was like, "That show was great. What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many amazing people. Like if you go back and look at who's on Herman's Head, it's like so many great people that have gone on to do amazing things, including some people that went on to The Simpsons. And she just thrown aback by that. She didn't expect that, but you throw the curveball. And so she's like, because everyone asked her about The Simpsons. Sure. And so I wanted to be the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. So I asked her about this show that I love that I didn't know how many people knew. And she just, and I think that like, she realized like, you're not like everybody else and I'm not like everybody else. And so we hit it off. They took me to dinner when I was out in LA, shortly after that. They were great people. And I love them to death, Yardley and Dan. They're both tremendous people. So
We need to pull up a Bet MGM and see what the over-under was on a Herman's Head reference getting dropped today.
right. But I did the
think
same
anyone's
thing.
betting on our show.
That's it. They should. I did the same thing with Joe Davis though, because he had just taken over for Vin, and I pulled the same exact move. And I was like, I know everyone's asking you, what it's like to replace the guy. So I'm just curious, like, what was it like to replace? And it was like when he was in the minor leagues and took over for some guy, like, and I had to dig so hard to find the guy's name, and like Joe laughs audibly out loud. He's like, "That's tremendous, man. That's unbelievable." But it helps in those situations because again, everybody's asking you the same question. I'm like, I don't want to be the same guy asking you the same question. And you realize the guard for people goes down immediately when you do that, because you're just not asking the same general question everyone else does. Right. It's only 2 times.
So you'd said that one thing that you like to do is share the stories of the players that are out on the field. 2 of my favorites from the most recent past has been Peyton Neals and Randy Dobnik. Mm-hmm. Of the current team, whose story do you want to get out?
Oh man, that's a good question. You're also testing my memory, like I remember all these things.
It's early on in the season, so you might not know all of them.
No, it's an open book. It's an open book test. I tell people my memory is horrendous. I'm going to dance around this question because I'm not sure I have an answer right now. But my memory is terrible. When the game is over, I'll go down to the clubhouse, drop off the box scores, and this happened more on the road than it does at home because I drop off and I go back up. But on the road, you're either on the bus with these guys or you're walking back or whatever it may be. And inevitably, someone will ask you, like, hey, you remember in the 5th inning when this? Nope, I don't. Like, I just called this game and I don't remember what happened.
I wrote it down.
Yeah, like my memory doesn't work that way. So I'm trying to think who on this club. Matt Bowman's a Princeton guy, so he wrote like a thesis, and like so I'll tell the story about like the thesis that he wrote. I think it was for the Phillies. I think he wrote it for comparing like the secondary ticket market and how it can how that was cutting into costs of what, and this was way back, whenever he was in college. Bowman's in his mid 30s now, but stuff like that. When Brooks was here, Brooks Lee, I was very excited because I had discovered, and it's now widely known because he's in the major leagues, but his dad wanted to name him Brock. But he didn't name him Brock because his name would have been Brock Lee. And I always thought that was hilarious. So it's just stuff like that where, I love those little nuggets that, that just stick with you and that you remember. So.
My grandmother was a clerk in vital statistics at a hospital, and she actually had veto power. So if Brooks Lee's dad would have tried to name him Brock Lee, my grandmother would have said no. This is this is unacceptable. It's broccoli. Like, we're not going to allow that.
I'm still phenomenally shocked that this was a job.
Yeah.
Essentially, she was filing away the birth certificate.
Yep.
But she also had veto power if she thought that the name was going to get the kid made fun of or was otherwise inappropriate.
So there's literally a person that gets to decide like yay or nay on names?
This was in like the 1960s, 70s. Like, I don't think any longer.
When was the cutoff? When did they say, you know what?
It was after I was born. I can tell you that was my weird name.
Yeah, I'll tell you, with a lot of the celebrity children that I've seen out there definitely does not exist that job anymore.
I would love that job, by the way.
Yeah,
you just veto everything.
You just want to go on a power.
I feel like that's a whole lot of power for like a small group of people that get to say yay or nay, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
We're going to run around with a whole bunch of just, plain names out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of boring.
Well, yeah, she just said, like, you can just name them off of the books of the 4 Gospels, and, like, that's it. Like, those are the only 4 boys.
Everybody in the Twin Cities in that time period, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
That's right.
It happened to her as well. She wanted to name my father Tim rather than Timothy, and then had picked out a different middle name, and they said, no, you can't do Tim. It's a nickname. So she went with Timothy and then added a different middle name.
So here's my biggest pet peeve. Now, I don't have kids, maybe sometime in the near future, but I don't have kids. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't understand why parents name their child one thing and then call them something else. I don't get it. Mm-hmm. Name them what you're going to actually call them, Well, I do not understand. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And this happens more than you realize. And I'm sure this maybe goes across the board in all sports, but definitely in baseball, where guys will be like, John William Smith, but they go by their middle name, William. And I'm like, how did that, name the kid that then? What do we do? It's not like, these are not nicknames, right? If his name is Timothy, call him Timothy. If you're going to call him Tim, just name him Tim. I don't understand. It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
It's because Tyler's grandma was...
She was
It was done to her. Like she got.
Yes, I just.
She got Uno reverse carded.
Now, God love my sister, but she did that with both her daughters and Giovanna and Madeline. They go by Gia and Maddie, and I'm like, you just shouldn't. You knew you were going to do that from the beginning. Just name them that.
I think it's also like you open up that window of opportunity. Like I have a friend, Joe, he's Joseph.
Yeah.
And then he was Joey when he was little. And now he's older and he's Joe or Joseph in professional life. So I think there's some flexibility that you are afforded at times.
But you've been around, like as a parent, most of us have been around long enough to know where the world is going to take you, that you know that like, hey, X name is going to play fine throughout the course of your lifetime.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't get it. Now I get it if your friends or whoever like wind up shortening it, whatever it is. But like parents will do that where the kid is born and we're naming him Joseph, and then the second he comes out, oh look at Joe. I'm like, what are we doing?
Well, then what are you gonna call them when they're in trouble? You got to have the in trouble name.
Well, that leads me to my next question. What is Sean short for?
My parents were originally going to name me Weston. So
really?
Weston was going to be the original name that they changed course on that. So I probably would have gone by Wes at that point.
Yeah.
That probably would have been my name. So yeah.
Weston's a good name too, though.
I guess. I've never met a Weston before.
I've got one on my little league team.
Do you?
Yeah.
I've never ran into
Tyler's the largest little leaguer you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well, we are, I think, coming up on our time. So the last few things that we have
What do we got here? What time?
We're at 40, 46, 47 minutes.
I got to be up to the broadcast booth at 4:30. Do you want to know why I have to be up at the broadcast booth at 4:30?
Tell us.
This is a true story. Because I have to put my rice in the rice cooker at 4:30. It's a God's honest truth.
Is that your pregame meal?
It is. So I have a Foreman grill and a rice cooker up in the press box because I refuse to. But look, you call 150 of these, right?
Yeah.
And here we get outside, restaurants to supply food or whatever. But if I ate whatever was provided, I'd be 400 pounds.
Yeah.
And so this is a way that I can control what I eat.
Yep.
So yeah, Foreman grill, rice cooker up there.
It's a college style up there.
Yeah, but it took me so long in this business to discover that this just worked.
Yeah.
Like I was bringing sandwiches and stuff like that, and Foreman Grill's been around for a while, and just one day I woke up and was like, why am I not doing this?
Right.
So
Well, to end this, we thought we'd do some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Does that sound good?
yeah, we'll see how my brain works.
All right, fair enough.
Go
They're
ahead.
not anything you need to remember, just answers that you might have. Have you ever attempted the 999 challenge?
No, I don't drink.
Oh, okay.
I've never drank before. I shouldn't say that. I had to have Manischewitz wine for my bar mitzvah because it's part of the ceremony, and the look on my face for any 13-year-old, I think, is priceless.
I've been there.
Yeah, but exactly, right. But I've never drank. There's no great reason. I don't have a great story behind this. Everyone always asks, "Is there a reason?" There's nothing. I just have never drank. I have said this, and this is the truth. The Kings have been fortunate to win 2 Stanley Cups, but at this point, if anyone brings me the Stanley Cup and says you can drink out of it, I will end that right now, and I will drink out of the Stanley Cup.
That's fair.
I feel like if you're going to go out and you're going to that's the way to do it.
If you're going to break the streak, that's a
yeah,
good way to do it.
100%.
I mean, and it's not like you're going to take one sip from the Stanley Cup and all of a sudden go on a 15-year bender.
No,
or
and that's
anything
not what
like
I'm
that.
worried about. I
Yeah.
just never did it, and I think it just became a life of its own, and
Yeah.
I just don't. So yeah,
So have you done it with soda then instead?
no,
9
no.
sodas.
Yeah, that would almost be worse,
No.
honestly.
I mean, 9.
That's so much carbonation.
Yeah.
I mean, I also don't go to baseball games anymore either, right? I work them all. You know, I don't even go to Twins. My wife works for the Twins. She has now for a little over a year. She used to work here. In case anyone wants to know how we met.
Very cool.
Makes sense.
But I don't go to, like, nobody wants to spend their off day.
At work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
doing
sure.
that. So
That makes sense.
yeah. So I just no. And yeah,
Not something you're
disgusts me.
interested
No,
in.
not at all. No. I'm sorry. I know that's like a guy question.
No.
Or a guy, I'm just it's not for me.
Everyone at this table would not do it.
Yeah.
So you're fine.
Do you have a favorite drink, favorite beverage, Pepsi or sparkling water?
So about 8 years ago, I went cold turkey on soda.
Yeah, me
because I was
too.
drinking so much during the day to get me through. Like I'm here at 9 a.m. for a 7 o'clock game.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not asking for anyone to cry for me, but that's just the way it is in minor league baseball. And I was drinking soda, and I was drinking so much of it that one day I was like, "This is horrible for me." And the next day I went cold turkey, and I've not had a soda since.
Wow,
I didn't wean myself off. I just went cold turkey, and I probably 98% of what I drink is water. I might have like juice every once in a while, but it's just straight water.
Oh, good
No
for you.
coffee or anything either?
No, I never got into coffee.
Yeah. Me neither.
First of all,
Everybody thinks that I'm weird for that.
first of all, my growth is stunted enough, so I don't need help on that. But yeah,
We got 3 short guys on the show
yeah,
also. We
it's
get
just-
it.
Yeah, no chance.
Favorite band?
Yeah, I'm such a loser here. I'm not a big music guy either. I won't say I don't have a band, but I'm a big fan of like Celine Dion. My first concert I ever went to was a Whitney Houston concert at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, wow.
With my parents, which was amazing. Like I love powerful, I guess ballads, but musicians like that, like that people that can really sing.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm not a fan. Again, not to say I don't listen to it. Auto tune being what it is nowadays. I like people that can sing and
Yeah.
can bring it. I saw Celine in concert in Vegas. Unbelievable, just absolutely tremendous. And I'm not a concert guy. I've been to 4 concerts in my life. Again, music is not huge for me.
Sure.
But give me someone that like an Adele or something like that. Apparently, I gravitate towards females with powerful voices. But like people like that are like I find just unbelievable. The art that they can bring to singing.
Absolutely. Well, you don't find a lot of male power ballad singers anymore.
No, I like
a thing
Boys
of
to
the
Men.
hair
When I
metal.
grew up, Boys to Men, I loved Boys to Men.
Steve Perry.
Yeah.
Steve Perry, but he's not doing that anymore.
No, but Boys to Men was like as big when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I've loved them. They could sing. Yeah.
Favorite sandwich?
Boy, I'm so. You know what? Give me a pastrami on rye, which is the great Jewish answer, right?
There you go.
Give me a good pastrami on rye, and we'll call it good.
Mustard or no mustard?
If you're gonna go to like a Jewish deli, it's got to be the spicy mustard at that point, right? I mean, that's how it's designed. So,
What's your favorite Jewish deli in town?
there's only one, right?
I don't know. I know Cecil's.
Yeah, that's
Like,
it.
Okay, all
I
right.
think that's it. I think that is all. I mean, I don't believe. I think there used to be one in Minneapolis, but as far as Jewish delis, like Cecil's is the only one that I'm aware of.
What do you cook on the George Foreman alongside your rice maker?
Yeah, so it's chicken. So here's the true story. Most of the time, it's chicken and salmon. I will not cook salmon on the Foreman grill because it's not fair to put anyone in the press box through that. So we have a kitchen upstairs, and they're kind enough to let me use the kitchen. And then I used to cook turkey burgers on there, but it made it too messy and cleaning it was a pain. So I'd now take my turkey burgers into the kitchen and cook it in there. So I rotate between those three things during a week-long homestand, and it's 6 games. So that's basically what I'm eating. It's, again, I am the most boring person when it comes to a lot of things in this life.
Okay, so you said music's not necessarily.
By the way,
your
this is
thing.
the longest rapid fire session ever.
last one. I
No.
promise.
I'm the guy. Listen, you want a broadcaster on here? This is what happens. A, we monopolize the microphone, and B, it goes on forever.
That's why we got to force commercial breaks on
That's
you.
right.
Are there commercial breaks in
There
here?
are no
No.
commercial
No,
breaks.
okay. All right.
Not yet.
Nobody
All right,
pays us
okay,
yet.
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Favorite sports movie?
Ooh, man, that is a tough one. I mean, Field of Dreams is up there, right? And we're fortunate we're going to play in the Field of Dreams game this
Yes.
year, August 11th. That is going to be a highlight of my career, calling a game from the Field of Dreams site. So,
Wait, the Saints are going down?
yeah, so we play the Tuesday before
nice.
the Twins do. So the Twins play that Thursday. We play the Iowa Cubs on that Tuesday, the 11th of August.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's going to be incredible. So I got to say that's up there, but I don't know. Yeah, there's so many, right? the original Major League is a great movie, like just for comedy purposes. And
I figure with Euchre and you'd be in love with that.
So good, right? Like
that alone.
They basically didn't give him a script for that movie and just said, "Hey, do your thing, Euchre." And remember the Titans is an amazing movie.
That is a great one.
There are a lot of good ones. The Natural, although there's some scenes in that movie that make me cringe, but the Natural is still a great movie. My wife's favorite movie is The Sandlot, which I think is a great movie.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and a lot of people know this, I can't stand the end of that movie because it's got the kid going on as a broadcaster and it's horrible. It's horrendous. It is terrible. Like, I cringe every time. I'm like, this is horrible. This is bad. He's not good. He's doing things in the booth that nobody's going to, and the way it's cut together, it's terrible. It looks horrible. Like it's him in the booth. And then the shot of, him on the field and running, and they don't mix together. And then he looks up to the booth. I'm like, stop. This is
gives
all
him a thumbs up,
yeah.
right?
I was like, just stop. This is just so hokey and terrible. And as a broadcaster, it's horrendous. What's the one with Costner as a pitcher?
For the Love of the Game.
For the Love of the Game is amazing too, and of course Scully's in that, does an amazing job. There are a couple of scenes in that movie where I'm like, and again, maybe it's, I love the baseball side of it, the love story there, just sort of, I'm like, yeah, all right, but the baseball scenes in that movie, and just a guy on his last legs, and it's a ridiculous movie, right? He throws a perfect game, whatever, but you can get around that because the way that is shot. And Scully, it's a phenomenal movie. I don't know. What else you guys want to talk about? You got like 10 minutes before I got to go upstairs.
My next question was going to be favorite non-sports movie.
Oh man, Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, very
good choice.
Which is square as I am. Apparently, there's something dementedly wrong with me. That is my favorite.
They won a bunch of awards for a reason.
It's a great movie.
True.
It's an amazing movie.
It's not a bad movie at all.
Hopkins, one of the greatest performances of all time.
It is so good. Like there is nothing wrong about that movie. It's
okay,
tremendous.
so who is the best sports broadcaster in a movie?
In a movie?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I mean, again, Scully is there, right? I mean, it's
Sure.
For me, that's always going to be the guy, and I mean, he plays that perfectly. I don't. Do you have someone in mind? Is that what?
No, I don't know. Like, I don't know how Susan Sarandon did in Bull Durham.
But she doesn't broadcast though, right? Or you just
She does PA for the Durham Bulls.
you're going to go down a road you don't want to go down. I tell people all the time, because they're like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm the broadcaster for the Saints. And they're like, oh, we hear you at the game all the time. And I'm like, no, you don't. What you think I do is that.
Right.
And like the amount of people that think I'm Lee Adams, because when I say that, and so I've had to refine that where I'm like, I do the play-by-play on TV and radio. And they're like, oh, we hear you. No, you don't.
Right.
And that's like, I don't know how to get it to people other than like saying, you know what Paul Allen does? That's what I do. Like,
right.
Until you can put it to someone that they understand. Otherwise, people really think I'm the public address voice in this ballpark when I tell them what I do. And I'm like, do other broadcasters have to deal with this? You know, did young Vin Scully have to deal with that when he told people what he did? I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
possible.
But it's like, yeah.
I'll throw you a curveball then.
Okay.
Favorite professional wrestler?
Professional wrestler?
Yeah, I'm a big wrestling fan. WrestleMania is tomorrow.
Yeah,
Go for it.
I am not a newfound wrestling fan, but I used to, 80s, 90s?
Sure.
So the Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, Randy Macho Man Savage, that was my heyday. Like I think everybody at that time was a Hulk Hogan guy, right? I mean, he was
wrestling.
He was everything. But I don't know. I loved that era of wrestling. Again, at some point you just kind of fall out of it.
Sure.
But man,
Unless you're now.
are you a fan from that far back?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you carried on. Good for you. I don't know what else to say about that, but good for you.
Some people grow up and I do not.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like I think that like for me that was the heyday, and again I'm sure people from 10 years ago would tell you that was the heyday, but that's really where wrestling for me got started. Andre the Giant, Ted DiBiase. I mean, just there were so many amazing wrestlers back there and characters.
Yeah.
I loved that time and loved WrestleMania, loved the cage matches, loved the Royal Rumble. All of those were incredible. I fell out of that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Sean, we can't thank you enough for your time today. Thank you so much for the insight, for the willingness to sit down with us and pulling back the curtain and letting us into your world for a little bit of time. We really
I can't wait for part 2 of this. This is going to be amazing. We make this a series, and I can't wait for it.
Anytime you want us back. We'll be here.
Don't tease us with a good time. We'll take you up.
We'll be in center field broadcasting.
There you go. Hey,
Great.
look forward to it.
Just set up the little snow fence.
That's right.
Thanks, Sean. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you.